At my father's retirement party, I was told, sit at the vendor table. My brother smirked, why waste a seat on you? I looked around. Everyone had a place, even clients I helped land. So I picked up my briefcase, turned to him, and said, check under your plate. I left, shutting the car door behind me. Mom called, Dad ran out. You know that feeling when a moment's supposed to be about family, but you're treated like a stranger? That was me at my father's retirement gala. My name's Tyler. I'm 36. I live in San Diego and co-run a tech startup with my brother, Marcus. At least, I used to. The party was at the Oakview Country Club, the kind of place where the carpet's too clean and the air smells like cologne and money. It was packed with my father's old colleagues, country club friends, and extended family. I showed up in a navy blazer and carried a black leather briefcase. Inside were personalized mementos I'd spent weeks putting together. I thought maybe tonight, finally, I'd get to feel like I was part of something. Then the hostess scanned the seating chart and hesitated. Oh, you're at the vendor table, she said with a forced smile, pointing toward the far end of the lobby. Vendor. I blinked. I'm his son, I said. She gave me a helpless look. I just go by what they tell me. The vendor table wasn't even inside the main ballroom. It was out by the reception desk, next to the coat check. I sat there staring at the linen napkin in front of me, trying not to crumple it in my fist. People walked by and offered polite nods, like I was a caterer on break. I saw my mom through the glass doors, sipping wine with her book club friends. She looked over once, then looked away. My dad stood at the front of the room, holding court, grinning like he'd just been elected mayor. Then Marcus saw me. He strutted over with a bourbon in hand, his voice loud enough for everyone around us to hear. Oh, there you are. Thought maybe you'd finally quit. People chuckled. Didn't know we were subcontracting data entry now, he added. More laughter. I said nothing. I didn't trust my voice not to crack. Oh, come on, Marcus said, clapping me on the back like we were buddies. Lighten up. Enjoy the free shrimp. He walked off without waiting for a response, headed back to a table full of VCs and founders, our investors. The same people I had pitched alongside him. But in their eyes, I was just Marcus's quieter brother, the code guy, the shadow. I looked down at the briefcase on my lap. Inside were 9 envelopes, one for each family member, each containing a handwritten letter, a framed photo, and a memory card loaded with scanned home videos I'd spent weeks digitizing. I stood up quietly. As I passed the ballroom entrance, I saw Marcus laughing at something my dad had said. I made a quick turn and walked over to their table. Marcus looked up, eyebrows raised. I leaned in, close enough so only he could hear. Check under your plate. He frowned, but I was already walking away. I left through the front doors into the cool San Diego evening, briefcase still clutched in my hand, only 8 envelopes heavier now. And for the first time in years, I felt like I'd finally said something, without saying a word. They found the envelope during dessert. Marcus was in the middle of some dumb story about our first pitch meeting, one where he conveniently forgot to mention I'd written the entire prototype in a sleepless weekend, when he lifted his dessert fork and spotted the edge of the paper tucked under his charger plate. I wasn't there, but I can picture it clear as day. His fingers hesitating, the shift in his smile, the way his voice faltered as he pulled the envelope out like it might bite him. What's that? My mom asked, her tone syrupy with champagne. Marcus opened it. Inside was a single-page legal document, folded precisely, with my signature at the bottom. He started reading, and that's when it all shifted. At first, the people around him just kept eating, pretending not to notice. But then my dad leaned over to peek. A hush fell over the table, like a dimmer switch had been turned. I had officially relinquished all my shares in the company. But that wasn't the part that caused the silence. The second page, the real bomb, was a printed bank statement. It showed a $350,000 business loan taken out 6 months ago. My name was on the signature line. I'd never signed it. Marcus's face turned pale. He flipped the page over like maybe he'd missed something. His voice came out too loud, too forced. What the hell is this? My mother looked over his shoulder and froze. I'm told she actually dropped her fork onto her dessert plate. You didn't tell me about any loan, she whispered. My dad's eyebrows knitted together. You forged his name? No. Marcus stammered. It's not what it looks like. Of course it wasn't. It never was with him. People nearby started murmuring. One of our board members leaned over to whisper something to his wife. A client from Seattle who'd flown in just for the party looked visibly uncomfortable. My mom reached for Marcus's arm. Tell me this is a mistake, she said quietly. Marcus didn't answer. Meanwhile, I was cruising down the I-5 with the windows cracked, the city lights blurring past. My phone vibrated in the cup holder every 10 seconds. Mom, Marcus, Dad, Marcus again. I didn't pick up. Instead, I turned off the ringer and focused on the hum of the road beneath me, the briefcase now lying open on the passenger seat beside me. The 8 envelopes inside felt heavier now. I wasn't sure I'd ever deliver them. I thought about the first 10 years of the business, the late nights, the risks, the money I quietly poured in from my savings. How every success had Marcus's name on it, and every failure landed quietly at my feet. They called me the glue of the company once. I remember laughing at that. Glue gets squeezed, spread thin, and thrown away when it's dry. Now, I was done being glue, and I knew, as I watched the freeway signs blur past, that the sound they were hearing back at the gala wasn't just murmurs. It was the sound of something cracking. And this time, it wasn't me. I kept driving long after the call stopped. The road was dark and mostly empty. Somewhere around Del Mar, I pulled off at a lookout point and just sat there in the quiet, the lights of the city flickering in the distance. That's when the memories started to hit. Not just from tonight, but from years back. Years of giving. Years of being needed but never seen. Like when Marcus got hit with that first lawsuit from our beta launch. Some influencer accused us of scraping her data. Our lawyer said it could be a big deal. Marcus panicked. I paid the settlement out of pocket, $7,000 I didn't really have at the time. He never even said thank you. Just told me I had saved our ass. Or the time we got hit with a surprise tax penalty. Marcus had been experimenting with some crypto nonsense and didn't report gains properly. I stayed up 3 nights straight untangling the mess, then wrote a check for $4,000 to avoid garnishments. He joked later that I should have been an accountant instead of a CTO. And the product rebuild, that was the worst of it. We'd promised a major client a custom rollout. Marcus overpromised. Again. Then he conveniently disappeared on a vision retreat to Big Sur for 4 days. I canceled a weekend trip to Lake Tahoe with some friends I hadn't seen in years, pulled 3 all-nighters, and coded through a sinus infection to get it done. He came back with a tan and a latte in hand. Great work, man, he said, then pitched the success story like it was his solo idea in the next investor meeting. I remember selling my motorcycle that same month. It was a vintage Triumph I had rebuilt myself, bolt by bolt. I told myself we needed runway, that it was a sacrifice for the bigger picture. Marcus didn't even ask where it went. That same year, our cousin Dave got married in Austin. I was supposed to be a groomsman, but 2 nights before the flight, a server bug popped up. One Marcus caused because he insisted on pushing live changes himself. I stayed behind to fix it while he posted photos from the wedding dance floor. He tagged me in one. Missing our MVP tonight. Like it was some cute tribute. That's the thing about being the behind-the-scenes brother. Everyone claps for the showman. No one thanks the guy fixing the spotlight backstage. Our parents never saw it either. My mom always called Marcus the engine and me the support system, as if that was supposed to be a compliment. My dad used to brag about Marcus's pitch skills, his charisma, his fearlessness. Meanwhile, I built the platform, the thing that made the company worth something. I didn't care at first. I told myself it didn't matter who got the credit, as long as the company survived. But over time, it wore me down. My bank account shrunk. My sleep got worse. I stopped drawing, stopped going to the gym, stopped dating, and they didn't notice. Nobody asked if I was okay. They just kept needing, and I kept giving. Until tonight. Tonight, I finally gave them something different. I gave them distance. And for once, I was keeping something for myself. I ignored the first 5 calls from my mom, then 10, then 12. The 12th came at 2:40 a.m. I was half asleep on the couch in my apartment, still in the blazer I'd worn to the party, one shoe kicked off, and the other somewhere under the coffee table. When the phone buzzed again, I finally answered, not out of curiosity, just exhaustion. "Tyler," she said before I could speak. Her voice was breathless, like she'd been crying. "Can you come home, please?" I didn't answer right away. "We didn't know about the loan," she said quickly. "Marcus didn't tell us. He said it was just a minor funding thing. We had no idea he forged anything." I closed my eyes and let the silence stretch. "You should have said something earlier," she added, like that made any kind of sense. "I did," I said finally, my voice rough. "For 10 years. She went quiet. I sat up, ran a hand down my face, and stared at the city outside my window. "You let him humiliate me. At Dad's retirement party. You sat there and watched." "It wasn't like that," she said softly. "Marcus was under pressure. He was trying to keep things light." I laughed, not out of humor, just disbelief. "Light?" He shoved me into the lobby like I was a delivery guy. "You didn't even make eye contact." Her voice cracked. I was caught off guard. "I didn't know where they'd seated you." "That's funny," I said, "because they seated me next to a guy from the AV team and a woman handing out swag bags. So either you didn't know, or you didn't care." That landed. I could hear it in the hitch of her breath. Then I heard movement on the other end, a muffled voice. Then Dad came on the line. "Tyler," he said, calm, cold, "you're blowing this out of proportion." My jaw clenched. "You want to make a point? Fine. But don't burn down the whole damn house over some seating chart." "I didn't blow up the house," I said. "I just stopped building it by myself." "You're being dramatic, and you're being dishonest," I snapped. "You let Marcus rewrite every story while I was the one doing the work. You called him visionary while I paid his fines, fixed his mistakes, and made sure our name didn't end up in court." He didn't respond. "Of course not. I'm not coming back," I said. "Not to the business. Not to the house. Not as your backup plan." And then I hung up, not in anger, not in spite, just in clarity. It was time to stop asking to be heard. It was time to show up and be seen, whether they liked it or not. I didn't knock when I got to the house. I'd spent 36 years knocking, being careful, waiting to be invited in. Not this time. The front door wasn't even locked. I pushed it open and stepped into the same foyer where we used to hang stockings as kids. The place smelled like furniture polish and old tension. My mom appeared first, startled, still in her robe. "Tyler," she began. "Where is he?" I asked. She didn't have to answer. I could hear Marcus's voice in the kitchen, loud and casual. like nothing had happened. I walked in and saw him leaning against the island, sipping orange juice from a crystal glass like it was a mimosa. My dad stood at the stove, flipping eggs like this was a lazy Sunday. Both of them turned when I entered. "Well, look who decided to show up," Marcus said, smirking. "What's the plan today, Tyler? Another dramatic exit?" I ignored him and set the briefcase on the counter. "Still carrying that thing around?" he added. "You look like a middle manager at a job fair." I opened the briefcase without a word and began laying items on the counter, one by one. First, the sealed envelopes, then a small stack of receipts, and finally, the gift I'd originally brought for Dad, a watch he'd admired 6 months ago in a catalog, bought with my credit card and engraved on the back. "Thank you for teaching me what not to become." "What is this?" my mom asked. "It's the stuff I planned to give you," I said, "before you sat me at the vendor table." "Come on," Marcus said. "You're still upset about that?" "You used my name to get a loan," I snapped, turning to face him fully. "You took out 350 grand under my signature." Marcus rolled his eyes. "It was temporary. I knew you'd cover it if it came to that. That's what you do." "No," I said, my voice sharper now. "That's what I used to do." My father cleared his throat. "This isn't the place, isn't it?" I asked, locking eyes with him, because it sure seemed like the right place for Marcus to embarrass me in front of 200 people. "You're not a victim," Marcus said. "You're a co-founder. That comes with perks and risks." I took a breath. "Risks? You mean like bailing you out of 2 lawsuits? Or paying out of pocket when you lied to our accountant? Or when I missed my best friend's wedding to fix your screw-up with a client?" My mother reached for my arm. "Let's just all calm down now. Calm down." I laughed. "I gave up 10 years of my life for this family. 10 years. I slept 4 hours a night, ate in parking lots, loaned money I never got back, and you all treated me like I was lucky to be in the room." The kitchen fell silent. Then a new voice spoke. "He's telling the truth." I turned. Kelly was standing in the doorway, Marcus's wife. Her face was pale, lips pressed tight. "I saw the bank statement," she said quietly. "The loan, the forged documents, the transfers. I talked to a lawyer." Marcus froze. "What did you do?" he asked her. "What you were never going to," she said. I looked around at the 3 of them. My dad, frowning at his eggs, my mom looking everywhere but at me, and Marcus, finally losing the smirk. I gathered the items back into the briefcase. "I came here to give you one last chance to look me in the eye," I said, "to say something real." No one spoke, so I walked out the same way I came in, without permission. He showed up that night like a thunderstorm. I had just finished washing a single dish, staring blankly at the sink while my brain caught up with everything that had happened. The front buzzer rang, sharp and impatient. I already knew who it was. I opened the door to find Marcus on the other side, eyes wild, face flushed, breathing heavy like he'd sprinted up the stairs. He pushed past me without waiting for an invite. "What the hell are you doing?" he snapped, pacing like a caged animal. "You want to ruin my life? You think this is funny?" I shut the door calmly behind him. "Don't act surprised." He whirled around. "You're throwing everything away. Over what? Some passive-aggressive seating chart and a forged loan you weren't even supposed to find?" I held up my phone. "You mean this?" I tapped the screen and turned it toward him. On it, a screenshot from Kelly's email thread with her attorney. A PDF icon below it, labeled Marcus_transfers_joint ACCT.pdf. His eyes flicked down, and I watched the blood drain from his face. "That's fake." "It's not." He lunged toward me, hand raised like he might actually try to grab the phone, but I stepped back, calm as ever. "It's not just the loan, Marcus. It's the gambling, the fake vendor invoices, the fact that you've been funneling money from the company into a private account since last summer." "I built that company, Al." "No, we built it," I snapped. "I just didn't realize you were stealing from it too." He ran both hands through his hair. "This will destroy everything." "Then you should have thought about that before using my name on a federal loan application." His face twitched. "You're not going to court. You wouldn't." I met his stare. "I'm already talking to a lawyer. So here's what's going to happen. You pay me back everything. 150,000. Clean. Within 60 days. "Are you insane?" "Do it," I said, "or I press charges. Fraud, embezzlement, identity theft." He stood there breathing hard, shaking his head like I just proposed jumping off a bridge together. "You're bluffing," he said quietly. I pulled another paper from my desk drawer and handed it to him. A copy of the formal notice, intent to initiate legal action. He didn't even read it, just stared at the header like it was written in a foreign language. "You talked to Kelly," he muttered, almost to himself. "She reached out to me," I said. "Turns out I'm not the only one tired of your lies." He dropped the paper and backed toward the door, stunned. "This isn't how brothers fix things." "No," I said. "It's how grown men fix what their brothers broke." He didn't slam the door when he left. He just closed it quietly. And for the first time in my life, I realized I wasn't scared of him anymore. He came back 3 days later, but this time, he didn't come alone. I was sitting at the dining table, laptop open, going over a revised budget Kelly's lawyer had sent me. The buzzer rang again. I considered ignoring it, but something told me it wasn't over yet. When I opened the door, Marcus was standing there in a pressed shirt and fake calm. And behind him, my parents. "Of course. Can we come in?" my mother asked, clasping her hands together like she was praying. I stepped aside without answering. If this was going to end, I wanted it done in my own house. They filed in slowly, like they knew they were walking into a courtroom. My dad looked around the apartment like he'd never seen it before. Probably hadn't. They'd never cared enough to visit. Marcus went right for the center of the room, already launching into his speech. Look, this has gone too far. We're family. We don't need lawyers. We need to talk, man to man. I leaned against the kitchen counter and folded my arms. You brought an audience. So talk. He glanced at my parents like he wanted backup. My mom nodded as if rehearsed. Your father and I feel I'm not talking to them, I said. This is between me and Marcus. Marcus cleared his throat and straightened his sleeves, like that made him more trustworthy. The company is in a delicate place. What you're doing, this lawsuit threat, it could tank everything we built. I'm aware. Then why are you doing it? He asked, almost like he was the victim here. To prove a point? No, I said. To get my money back. To get my name off the fraud you committed. It wasn't fraud. It was, I said flatly. You forged my signature. You opened accounts in my name. You took money from the company and buried it in shell invoices. I looked at my parents. And you knew. They didn't deny it. My dad crossed his arms. We didn't know the full extent. You knew enough. You knew he was spending money we didn't have. You knew he mocked me in front of clients. And you let it happen. You're being cruel, my mother whispered. I reached into the drawer and pulled out the manila envelope I had prepared. Marcus shifted. What is that? I handed it to him. A list of every dollar I've personally loaned the company, covered on your behalf, or spent cleaning up your messes. He flipped through the pages. His eyes narrowed. What the hell is this line about the retirement account? My dad asked, suddenly on alert. I looked him dead in the eye. Ask Marcus. My dad turned to him. Tell me you didn't touch it. Marcus didn't speak. My mom gasped. No, Marcus. He shrugged, trying to brush it off. It was just temporary. You borrowed from Dad's retirement account, I said, without telling anyone, without a plan to pay it back. The room went still. No one laughed. No one defended him. I let the silence stretch before delivering the final blow. 150,000 in 60 days, or the suit moves forward. No negotiations. My dad looked at Marcus like he was seeing him for the first time. My mom sat down. Hard. You can't do this, Marcus said, barely above a whisper. I already did. He looked like he wanted to scream, but there was no performance left to give, just a reckoning. And this time, I wasn't the one on trial. By the next morning, the countdown had begun. Marcus didn't call, didn't text, but I knew he got the message. A courier delivered the certified demand letter at 9:17 a.m. I watched the receipt confirmation roll in with my coffee, and just like that, the silence cracked. By the end of the first week, Marcus sold one of his 2 cars, the Porsche. Not the Range Rover, of course. That would come later. The first payment hit my account quietly, like it was trying not to wake the past. 32,000, 1/5 of what he owed. A dent and a surrender. The next few weeks passed in strange waves. My parents alternated between guilt and bargaining. My mom left voicemails pretending we were still on speaking terms. Just checking in, honey. Wondering if you need groceries or anything. My dad texted once. This is overkill. That was it. No punctuation. I didn't reply. Instead, I took walks again. I rewatched the Star Trek episodes I used to love. I turned off Slack alerts for the first time in years. The world kept spinning, and for once, I wasn't spinning with it. And Marcus? He unraveled slowly. I heard he tried to pitch to 2 new investors. One said no the second they saw my name was no longer on the cap table. I got a LinkedIn message from an engineer who quit because he didn't want to work for a guy who cooks books. Each time a payment came in, he seemed smaller. 35,000, 28, then 15. The final one came with an email attached. This clears my end. Happy. No signature. No goodbye. I closed the tab, moved the money into a separate account, and never responded. But the message that stayed with me, the one that genuinely caught me off guard, wasn't from Marcus or my parents. It was from Kelly. Just one line. Thank you for giving me the push I needed. I filed for divorce this morning. She didn't ask for money, or advice, or sympathy. Just shared that one truth like it was enough. And somehow, it was. I sat with her message for a long time. I thought about her face the night she showed up during the confrontation. The way she looked at Marcus, not with anger, but exhaustion. The same look I used to see in the mirror. And now she was free too. It felt good. Not like victory. More like breathing after holding it for too long. For the first time in years, there was no crisis waiting for me. No guilt riding my shoulders. No inbox of unspoken obligations. Just quiet. Just space. Just mine. A month later, I woke up before sunrise. No alarms. No vibrating phone under the pillow. Just the soft hum of the city outside my condo window and the first warmth of sunlight slipping through the blinds. I made coffee the slow way stovetop. No rush. Took it out onto the balcony and sat there in a hoodie and sweats, letting the quiet stretch out around me. Downtown San Diego was waking up in pieces. A dog barked in the alley. A garbage truck hissed below. A cyclist zipped past on the street. But up here, it was still calm. That morning, I didn't check email. I didn't scroll LinkedIn. I didn't even glance at the news. Instead, I just sat there, holding a warm mug in both hands, breathing in steam and light. It felt strange. The kind of strange that's not bad, just unfamiliar. Like wearing a jacket that actually fits. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. A new message from my mom. The 5th in 4 days. Can we talk? Just a walk. No expectations. I miss you. I didn't open it. I didn't delete it either. I just let it sit there, a quiet reminder that not every apology comes in words. and not every silence needs to be broken. I hadn't seen her or Dad since that day Marcus confessed everything. They hadn't shown up again. No more confrontations. Just this soft, pleading drip of messages trying to rewind a clock that couldn't be turned back. And I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. Just done. I sipped my coffee, letting the bitterness roll across my tongue. When the doorbell rang, I wasn't expecting anyone. I stood, heart picking up a little, just enough to remind me that trust is a muscle that stiffens when it's been misused. I opened the door carefully, and there he was, Uncle Leon, gray at the temples now. Same weathered leather jacket he'd worn to my high school graduation. Eyes that looked tired, but not weak. He held a small box in his hands, wrapped in plain brown paper, twine tied in a bow. "Didn't think you'd actually answer," he said. I blinked. I wasn't sure I should. He gave me a half smile. "That's fair." I stepped aside. We sat at the table. He placed the box down but didn't offer it right away. Instead, he looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "I should have said something years ago, about how they treated you, about how much you did." I didn't know what to say, so I nodded. "I saw it," he said, "even when I didn't speak up. I saw how invisible they made you, and I was a coward for staying out of it. That makes two of us," I said quietly. "Until recently." He chuckled dryly. "Well, better late than never, huh?" We talked for 2 hours. About old family stories. About the time he nearly eloped with a bartender in Reno. About how he left San Diego for 10 years just to get out from under our family's thumb. Before he left, he finally pushed the box across the table. Inside was a wooden compass. Real brass casing, smooth in my palm. An engraving on the lid read, "You are always your own north." "I thought you should have something," he said, "that points somewhere other than back to them." As the door closed behind him, I stood there for a long time, holding that compass. Not because I needed directions, but because I finally knew I wasn't lost, just done following maps that were never drawn for me. And for the first time in my life, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt like peace. The kind you earn, the kind you keep.